Good evening, Fa'ala Flahiatu, and welcome to tonight's bulletin of BCN News. Leading the news tonight, the first 23 passengers who returned home 2 weeks ago left the MIQ facility at Home Office on Sunday afternoon after their day 12 COVID tests all returned negative results. Two of those first passengers, including Common Role MP Stanley Collyn and Robert B.J. Rex, continued to isolate for an additional 3 days in their homes. The flight on Monday this week brought in just under 40 passengers. They are being quarantined at the two government MIQ facilities, 10 units at the Matavai Scenic Apartments at Home Office and at the Ocean View wing of the Scenic Matavai Resort with 11 rooms dedicated for MIQ. It's understood the Scenic Matavai Resort have suspended services while part of the resort accommodations side is being used as a quarantine facility. On Saturday last week, a private charter of the air ambulance landed at just after 3 p.m. in the afternoon. The flight was to return Collyn Misa Kulasiyani, known to many of us on the island as Fingo. Sadly, she passed away a few hours later at their home at Kulasiyani Alofi South. She was 47 years old. The passing of Fingo, who was the Nuefu Hospital's manager, has cast a cloud over the island, as she was someone who was a passionate health and fitness advocate and very popular with her friendly personality. It's understood that several weeks ago she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. It was her decision to return home, so the family chartered the air ambulance to fulfill her wish to return to Niue. She was accompanied by her husband Charles, her sister Sue, and their mum Lofa Misa Kulasiyani. Hundreds of people turned up to the airport and lined the roadsides from the airport to their home at Kulasiyani Alofi South. Under the provisions of the Public Health Act, the family was allowed to quarantine and self-isolate at their home. Fingo's passing has dominated social media this week, with tributes flowing in from all over the world from people who knew her family and her friends. She is remembered for her outgoing personality, her passion for health and fitness, as a netball player, a coach, a trainer, and a devoted member of the Niue Golf and Sports Club. She is remembered as the devoted companion and wife and supporter of her husband, who is the principal of Niue High School. Her passing has also hit the staff of the Niue Hospital very hard because she was such a prominent leader of the department. Since Sunday, she lays at the hospital morgue, waiting for her husband and the family to complete their quarantine before she is finally laid to rest. BCN News extend heartfelt condolences to her husband Charles, her parents Lofa and Misa Kulasiyani, their families and friends, as we all mourn the loss of a beautiful woman taken far too soon. Rest in loving peace, Fingo. And two families are left homeless when their homes in the village of Makefu were completely destroyed by fire on Friday last week. It's understood the fire first started in one home, but quickly engulfed the neighboring property just after midday on Friday. A third neighboring property was also affected by smoke damage. The residents were also told not to return home until after clearance from the authorities. No one was reported injured, and the government agencies are completing their reports on the unfortunate incident. According to government sources, 3 fire appliances were used to try to contain the fire, but they were not able to contain it. The areas affected had been cordoned off until today, when the cleaning up of the debris took place. It's understood the Department of Environment needed to conduct the investigations into the toxic levels of the debris, especially with the asbestos materials. The Niue Police will be submitting the report to the coroner in compliance of the 1964 Coroner's Act. Community efforts to help the families have also started, with the 2 schools last week preparing care packages for the families. During the cancer awareness events and activities in the month of October, the Health Department has revealed alarming cancer statistics, where 43 people have been diagnosed with one form of cancer since 2009. Here's more on that story. October is the month dedicated to breast cancer awareness, but this year that has now changed to include awareness of all forms of cancer. The Health Department also ran a breast screening program throughout October, which resulted in one suspicious case identified from the 84 women screened by radiographer and ultrasonographer Melemone.
84 ladies who turn up. The eldest one is 75, the youngest one is 31 years of age, and then we got one new suspicious case from this screening of October breast screening program.
Melemone, who first came to Niue as a locum in 2019, started breast screening and has been credited for the early diagnosis of these cases. In the past 2 years, 3 women were diagnosed with breast cancer because of her screening programs. Since records began in 2009, the Niue Health Department have recorded 43 confirmed diagnoses of various types of cancers. This is an alarming number of positive cancer diagnoses for a population fewer than 2,000 people. From those 43 diagnoses, the top 5 most common cancers affecting the local population is prostate cancer with 10 diagnoses, followed by skin cancer, 8 diagnoses, breast cancer with 7, and 6 confirmed cases of liver cancer, and 5 with cervical cancer. On Thursday last week, at the largest Walk for Life event, nearly 400 people turned up for the Niue Health Department and the Taonga Niue event. This year's turnout showed just how the alarming statistics of cancer diagnosis from the population of fewer than 2,000 people is certainly very concerning for the locals. Mothers turned up with their little ones in strollers, children walking bare feet, men wearing jandals. They all turned up for the event. Most of the people there were there because they are related to or know of someone who have died of cancer or someone still fighting to survive. Lofa Rex was there because her daughter, Pauline Rex Blumsky, was diagnosed with breast cancer earlier this year.
Definitely, because my daughter is a breast cancer patient, and she's undergoing recovery at the moment in Auckland. But I think all cancers, any type of cancer, is very important. I think the awareness today has been brilliant. I just like to see a great support system in place so that we can have that support system to be of help to them, to support them like they do have a cancer society in Auckland. And so hopefully that we will get to that level, that stage here in Niue, so that we can give that extra support. And I think that'll be great for families and those who also have cancer. And God bless them all.
Common Role Member of Parliament Terry Coe was also there, and he is encouraging people to get tested early.
I think the best thing is to get tested early with everyone, not just a certain age group. I think it's got to start off at down below the 20s, and people get tested and do it instead of talking about it, and when it's too late then those people suffer and pass away, and the families suffer as well. So we need to get in early with the diagnosing and scanning here so that we can get on top of it and have no more deaths.
On Sunday evening at the Commercial Centre, the cancer awareness activities ended with a candlelight service conducted in association with the Kulasiyani youth and conducted by Reverend Christopher Langiono. People turned up to listen to the singing and remember their loved ones who have passed away and those who are still fighting to survive cancer. The message from the Health Department is not to be afraid and to visit the Health Department to be screened even if you're unsure.
Some of the people, they are so scared when they come in the room, but I would like to convince everyone, please come. You're suspicious, the things that you are still assuming of, it's not going to happen. It's only happen when you come and have your scan. Get screened, get scanned. Early detection save lives.
This month of November is also known as Movember, bringing public attention to men's health. In a government press release issued this morning, Premier Honourable Dalton Tagelangi expressed his gratitude to former Australian High Commissioner Susan Allen for her contribution to advancing Australia's interests in Niue. The Premier's statement mentioned that over the past year, since Ms Allen's posting, Niue and Australia have enjoyed a friendly relationship based on shared participation in Pacific regional organisations, development cooperation and community links. The Australian government has contributed to make significant contributions to Niue, most recently in waste management, AusAid scholarships, the repairs to the Sir Robert's Wharf from Tropical Cyclone Tino, and contributions to the new Whalefono. Ms. Susan Allen departed the island 3 days ago after serving as Australia's first High Commissioner to Niue since the post was established in August last year. We caught up with her at the airport on Monday just before she left. She thanked the people of Niue for being wonderful hosts and for welcoming her with such openness. She spoke of one of the highlights of the projects she worked with during her tenure as Australia's High Commissioner to Niue.
We're very happy that we've been able to contribute to providing scholarships to young Niuean school leavers. I think it's fairly difficult for someone who's outside Niue to actually understand how important education is for Niue, that the opportunities here are quite limited, and the importance of having good, sound tertiary education for Niuean school leavers that will encourage them to come back and give back to Niue. I think is just such an important thing, and I think if you're not in Niue, you don't quite understand that how significant an issue that is for Niue. So we're very happy to be partnering with Niue on that. I know the Premier's been keen for us to expand a little more, and that's something I've been working on, and hopefully I can continue to give a little push to when I'm back in Canberra as well.
Susan told BCN News that she is returning to DFAT headquarters in Canberra and will likely be there for the next 2 years. But first, she will spend some much-needed family time at home and doing a bit of gardening. Ms. Allen's replacement will be announced at a later date. A multipartite agreement between the governments of Niue, Australia and New Zealand aims to facilitate trade of agricultural produce and support development opportunities through the PACER Plus trade agreement. Here's more on that story. The partnership was launched at the National Show Day last month and is expected to provide benefits to the private sector through improved trade opportunities with New Zealand and Australia. Some of the focus areas where assistance will be available include biosecurity, trade, production, market access pathways, quality and standards. The Minister of Natural Resources and the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, Honourable Mona Inu, in her statement said that she is grateful for their specific Horticultural and Market Access Plus program, also known as Farmer, which will assist with market access opportunities for potential agricultural products going forward. In recent years, the largest exports from Niue have been honey and nonu. However, according to sources from the Customs Department, since the COVID pandemic nearly 2 years ago, honey and nonu exports have dropped dramatically. But the good news is that taro, yams, coconuts and cassava have taken over as the largest export commodities since last year. And from the sitting of the Whanoi Kepule yesterday, the country's lawmakers passed the Building Code Amendment Bill 2021. All 8 questions during oral answers time were from Common Roll member Honourable Terry Coe. Honourable Terry Coe had 8 questions, one of which was asking the Premier whether all the newly qualified MBA employees of the government will receive a salary increase. Premier Dalton Tangilangi replied that given the current financial conditions of the recurrent budget, this is something that the government will have to consider next year. According to the Public Service Commission, responsible for the salaries of all public servants, most of the MBA graduates are already paid at a salary range for employees with master level qualifications. The very few who are not yet at the salary scale will be considered on a case-by-case basis. Honourable Terry Coe told BCN News that the government should ensure that if the course fees of these graduates were paid by the government, then the government should at least get a good return on this investment. Also at the Whanoi Kepule meeting yesterday, Honourable Crosley Tatui said that there are 6 MBA graduates working in departments under his portfolios, mainly those working in finance and planning. 12 people graduated with MBA or Masters in Business Administration qualifications from the University of the South Pacific last month. And to end the news tonight, if you haven't already seen it yet, there is a new look to the government website, www.gov.nu, where information on COVID-19 and the travel advisories are uploaded for easy access. One of the new features is a Q&A segment, which are in both Wangahau Niue and in English. According to information on the website, now that we're into this cyclone season, should there be a need to evacuate the MIQ from Matavai or Hamofisi, then all the MIQ residents will be evacuated to the Lialangi facility at Lakepam. Some of the recent information is in relation to questions about what happens if there is a confirmed COVID case in MIQ. If there is a case requiring urgent medical attention, the patient will be transported to the aged care unit at the Niuefo Hospital. The residents of the aged care unit apparently will be temporarily relocated to their families or temporary accommodations. Where the patient's situation requires further medical attention, then the patient will be placed on a medical evacuation flight to New Zealand. So if you haven't already done so, keep yourself and your family informed of the latest information from the government on their website www.gov.nu. And that's our bulletin of BCN News for tonight. Do join us again on Tuesday next week for our bulletin in Wangahau. Until then, good night.